Captain Jake Morrison stood at the bridge windows of the UES Horizon and watched the stars. He had been waiting for this moment his whole life. Today would be the day humans met their first alien species. The thought made his heart beat faster, but he kept his face calm. His crew was watching him, and they needed to see confidence. The Horizon was not like other human ships. It had no heavy weapons or thick armor. Instead, it carried gifts, translators, and diplomats. The ship was built for one purpose: to make friends with aliens. Earth had spent 5 years preparing for this moment after they received the first signals from space. Ambassador Lisa Grant walked onto the bridge carrying her datapad. She looked nervous but excited. Lisa had studied alien languages for 20 years, even before aliens were real. Now she would be the first human to speak with beings from another world. She wore her best blue dress uniform with the Earth flag on her shoulder. "Captain Morrison," Lisa said, "are we ready for the meeting?" Jake nodded and pointed to the main screen. "They should arrive in 30 minutes, Ambassador." Everything is prepared according to their instructions. The aliens called themselves the Valdari Confederation. They had sent messages to Earth 3 months ago using radio signals. The messages were friendly and curious. They wanted to learn about humans and share knowledge. They spoke of 12 different species working together in peace. They offered trade deals and cultural exchange. Dr. Peter Hayes stood at his language station running final checks on the translation computers. Peter was Earth's best linguist, and he had spent weeks learning basic Valdari words. The aliens had sent language guides to help with communication. Peter found their language beautiful and complex, with sounds that humans could barely make. "Translation systems are working perfectly," Peter reported. "We should be able to understand each other without problems." Colonel Amy Brooks checked the security readings one more time. As military advisor, she was responsible for everyone's safety. The Valdari had agreed to meet in neutral space far from both Earth and their home worlds. Amy wore no weapons as requested, but she still felt worried. First contact was dangerous even with friendly aliens. "All systems show green," Amy said. "Their ship is approaching on schedule." Martin Cole reviewed his trade proposals for the 100th time. As Earth's trade specialist, he carried information about human resources, technology, and culture. The Valdari had shown interest in human art and music. Martin hoped these gifts would start a profitable relationship between their species. The main screen lit up as the alien ship came into view. Jake felt his breath catch in his throat. The Valdari vessel was enormous, at least 5 times larger than the Horizon. Its hull curved and flowed like a living thing with soft lights pulsing along its surface. The ship looked organic rather than built, as if it had grown instead of being constructed. "Beautiful," Lisa whispered. "It looks peaceful." The alien ship moved with grace that human vessels could not match. It seemed to float through space without effort. Strange patterns of light danced across its hull in colors that had no names. Jake had seen many ships, but nothing like this. The Valdari were clearly more advanced than humans. "Incoming transmission," reported Lieutenant Kate Williams from Communications. The main screen changed to show the interior of the alien ship. Jake found himself looking at his first extraterrestrial being. The Valdari delegate was tall and thin with pale blue skin and large dark eyes. Its face was almost human, but with subtle differences that made it clearly alien. It wore flowing robes covered in complex patterns. "Greetings, humans," the alien said in perfect English. "I am Prime Coordinator Zelth of the Valdari Confederation. We welcome you to the greater galactic community." Lisa stepped forward with a smile. "Prime Coordinator Zelth, I am Ambassador Lisa Grant representing Earth and humanity. We are honored to meet you." Zelth's large eyes seemed to study each human carefully. "Your species shows great promise, Ambassador Grant. We have observed your rapid technological development with interest. Few species advance so quickly from primitive conditions to space travel. We are eager to learn from species with more experience," Lisa replied. "The Valdari Confederation sounds like exactly the kind of partnership humanity needs." The conversation continued for an hour as both sides exchanged basic information. Zelth spoke about the 12 species in their confederation and how they work together for mutual benefit. The aliens seemed genuinely interested in human culture and technology. They asked many questions about Earth's governments, resources, and military capabilities. Peter took careful notes on Valdari language and culture. Their society seemed built on cooperation and shared knowledge. Different species contributed their unique abilities to benefit everyone. It sounded like paradise compared to Earth's often violent history. Martin discussed potential trade agreements. The Valdari were interested in human entertainment, art, and certain mineral resources. In exchange, they offered advanced technology and access to other species' knowledge. The deal seemed generous and fair. Amy observed everything carefully. The aliens appeared peaceful, but she noticed they asked many detailed questions about human military strength. They wanted to know about Earth's defenses, ship capabilities, and weapons technology. Their interest seemed more than casual curiosity. As the conversation wound down, Zelth made a formal invitation. We would be honored to host the human delegation aboard our vessel. You could see our culture firsthand and meet representatives from other Confederation species. Such a visit would cement our friendship. Lisa looked to Jake for approval. The captain nodded slowly. This was what they had come for. We accept your generous invitation, Prime Coordinator. Excellent, Zelth replied. Prepare to dock with our ship. We have prepared quarters suitable for human biology. You will be our honored guest for the next several days. As the horizon moved closer to the massive alien vessel, Jake felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. They were about to make history as the first humans to visit an alien ship. Everything had gone perfectly so far. The Valdari seemed friendly, intelligent, and eager to work with humanity. The docking process was smooth and professional. Valdari technology guided the human ship into a specially prepared bay. Through the windows, Jake could see alien workers moving around in environmental suits designed for their biology. Everything looked clean, efficient, and welcoming. Delegation prepare for transfer, Jake announced. Remember, you represent all of humanity. Make us proud. Lisa gathered her team and headed for the airlock. Peter carried his translation equipment while Martin brought samples of human art and culture. Amy reluctantly left her weapons behind as agreed. They were about to step into a new chapter of human history. As the airlock door opened, they found themselves facing a reception committee of various alien species. All were dressed in ceremonial robes and seemed genuinely happy to meet the humans. Zelth waited at the front of the group with what might have been a smile on his alien features. Welcome aboard, Zelth said. Let your education in galactic civilization begin. The Valdari ship was even more impressive inside than outside. Ambassador Lisa Grant walked through corridors that seemed to pulse with life. The walls were smooth and curved with no sharp edges anywhere. Soft lights flowed along the ceiling like rivers of starlight. The air smelled clean with hints of something sweet and alien. Prime Coordinator Zelth led the human delegation through what he called the cultural quarter. Representatives from different Confederation species waited to greet them. Lisa met beings with 4 arms, others with scaled skin, and some that looked almost like walking plants. All seemed friendly and curious about humans. Each species brings unique gifts to our Confederation, Zelth explained as they walked. The Kethri provide advanced mathematics while the Zolani excel at biological sciences. Together we accomplish what none could do alone. Dr. Peter Hayes was fascinated by the different languages he heard. Each species spoke their own tongue, but all could communicate through translation devices. The technology was far beyond anything humans had developed. Peter recorded everything for later study. The first formal meeting took place in a grand chamber with a domed ceiling that showed the stars outside. Lisa sat at a curved table with Zelth and 5 other alien delegates. They discussed trade possibilities, cultural exchange programs, and what they called integration protocols for new Confederation members. Humanity would start as associate members, Zelth explained. This allows you to learn our ways gradually. Full membership comes after a period of adjustment and cooperation. Martin Cole found the trade terms surprisingly generous. The Valdari offered advanced medical technology, faster than light communication systems, and energy production methods. In return, they wanted access to human entertainment, certain mineral rights, and what they called voluntary service programs. What kind of service programs? Martin asked. Zelth smiled his alien smile. Young humans would serve in Confederation projects, space exploration, scientific research, cultural exchange missions. It helped species learn to work together. Lisa thought it sounded reasonable. Earth's young people would benefit from exposure to advanced alien science and culture. The Confederation seemed to genuinely care about helping new members develop and grow. On the second day, Peter noticed something odd during his language studies. The Valdari had provided historical documents about Confederation formation, but some details did not match what Zelth had told them. The documents mentioned 37 different species joining over the past 2 centuries, but Zelth had said there were only 12 current members. What happened to the other 25 species? Peter asked during a private study session. The Valdari linguist helping him paused for a long moment. Some species evolved beyond the need for physical form, he finally said. Others chose to merge completely with Confederation culture. Evolution takes many paths. The answer felt incomplete, but Peter decided not to push further. Cultural differences could explain many things that seemed strange to human understanding. Colonel Amy Brooks spent her time observing security arrangements and ship layout. The Valdari were polite, but she noticed they carefully controlled where humans could go. Certain areas were completely off limits, and armed guards stood at every restricted entrance. During a tour of what Zelth called the Memorial Gallery, Amy saw something that made her uncomfortable. The walls displayed artifacts from Confederation history, including weapons, armor pieces, and ceremonial objects. Many looked like war trophies rather than peaceful cultural exchanges. These items commemorate important moments in Confederation development, Zelth explained when Amy asked about them. Each represents a species finding their place in our greater community. Amy examined a display case containing what looked like military medals and rank insignia. The metal was tarnished, and some pieces were damaged as if taken from defeated enemies. Other displays showed similar collections from different species, all with the same worn and damaged appearance. Were these given as gifts? Amy asked carefully. In a sense, Zelth replied. When species join the Confederation, they surrender their old military traditions. These represent the end of conflict and the beginning of peace. On the 3rd day, Martin made a disturbing discovery while reviewing economic data. The Confederation's resource production numbers did not match what 12 advanced species should be capable of generating. The output was much higher, as if more civilizations were contributing than officially existed. Martin also noticed that several species mentioned in trade documents were not represented among the current Confederation members. When he asked about this, his Valdari contact gave vague explanations about economic restructuring and efficiency improvements. Some species prefer to focus on production rather than administration, the alien trade official explained. They contribute resources while others handle political matters. The explanation felt wrong to Martin. In every human society, those who produced wealth also demanded political representation. Why would advanced alien species willingly give up their voice in Confederation decisions? Lisa began to worry when she tried to arrange direct communication with Earth. The Valdari insisted that all messages go through their communication systems for proper translation and formatting. They claimed this prevented misunderstandings, but it meant Earth never received unfiltered reports about the negotiations. We must ensure accuracy, Zelth explained. Direct communication could lead to cultural confusion or diplomatic incidents. Our experience with other species has taught us patience in these matters. On the 4th day, Peter made a breakthrough that changed everything. While studying Confederation historical records, he found references to species that had supposedly evolved beyond physical form or merged with Confederation culture. The records were detailed enough to cross-reference with astronomical data. Peter discovered that several star systems mentioned in the records now showed signs of massive destruction. Planets had been strip-mined or completely destroyed. Entire solar systems were now empty except for automated mining operations. These were not signs of peaceful evolution or cultural merger. Peter brought his findings to Lisa during their evening meal. The ambassador studied the data with growing alarm. The evidence suggested that many species had not joined the Confederation willingly. They had been conquered, enslaved, or eliminated entirely. We need to be very careful how we handle this information, Lisa said quietly. If we are right about what happened to those species, we could be in serious danger. That night, Amy conducted a careful security sweep of their quarters using equipment she had smuggled aboard despite the weapon restrictions. She found multiple surveillance devices monitoring their conversations and activities. The Valdari were not trusting guests. They were careful jailers. The 4 humans met in the quarters bathroom with water running to mask their conversation. Lisa shared Peter's discoveries while Amy revealed the surveillance. Martin added his economic concerns about impossible production numbers and missing species. We are not potential Confederation partners, Lisa concluded. We are being evaluated as potential victims. The question is whether we will submit willingly or need to be conquered by force. The next morning would bring the final round of negotiations, where Zelth had promised to present the formal terms for Earth's membership in the Valdari Confederation. Lisa now understood that humanity would not be offered a choice between membership and independence. They would be offered a choice between submission and destruction. Ambassador Lisa Grant walked into the final negotiation chamber with her heart pounding. She knew this meeting would determine humanity's fate, but she had to pretend everything was normal. The evidence they had found painted a terrifying picture of the Valdari Confederation's true nature. But confronting them directly could mean death for her entire team. Prime Coordinator. Zelth waited at the head of a massive oval table. Other high-ranking Valdari officials sat around the edges, their pale blue faces showing no emotion. The chamber was larger than before, with guards stationed at every exit. Lisa noticed the guards carried weapons that had not been visible during earlier meetings. Ambassador Grant, Zelth said as she took her seat. Today we finalize humanity's future within our confederation. I trust your stay has been educational. Lisa forced herself to smile. Very educational, Prime Coordinator. We have learned much about your confederation's methods. Dr. Peter Hayes, Colonel Amy Brooks, and Martin Cole took their places beside her. Peter's hands shook slightly as he activated his recording equipment. Amy sat perfectly still, but her eyes constantly scanned for threats. Martin clutched his datapad like a shield. Zelth activated a holographic display showing star charts and resource projections. Let me present the terms for Earth's integration into the Valdari Confederation. These terms are based on careful analysis of your species' capabilities and potential contributions. The first demand was immediate dissolution of all human military forces. Every warship, fighter, and weapon system would be surrendered to Valdari control. Earth's orbital defense platforms would be dismantled and replaced with Valdari peacekeeping stations. Military conflict wastes resources that could serve better purposes, Zelth explained. The Confederation maintains peace through unity, not through competing armed forces. Lisa kept her voice steady. That seems like a significant step. What guarantees would humanity have for our protection? The Confederation's protection is absolute, Zelth replied. No member species has ever been attacked by outside forces. Internal conflicts are prevented through proper guidance and supervision. The second demand involved Earth's governments. All national leaders would be replaced by Valdari-approved administrators. Humans could serve in local positions but only under alien oversight. Democratic processes would be eliminated as inefficient and potentially destabilizing. Democracy creates conflict through competing interests, Zelth continued. The Confederation has perfected governance through proven leadership and scientific management. Human administrators will learn these superior methods, Martin spoke up carefully. What about economic independence? Will humans control our own resources? Zelth's large eyes focused on Martin with cold intensity. Resources belong to the Confederation as a whole. Earth's minerals, agriculture, and industrial capacity will be integrated into our overall production system. Humans will receive everything they need in return. The third demand was the most horrifying. 20% of Earth's population between ages 16 and 25 would be conscripted for Confederation service. These young humans would serve in expansion campaigns, mining operations, and other projects deemed necessary by Valdari leadership. Consider this an honor, Zelth said. Your youth will help bring other primitive species into the Confederation's embrace. They will be part of something greater than any single world could achieve. Lisa could no longer hide her horror. You are talking about enslaving our children. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Zelth's pleasant expression vanished, replaced by something cold and predatory. The other Valdari officials leaned forward like hunters sensing wounded prey. Enslavement is such an ugly word, Ambassador, Zelth said softly. We prefer to call it guided service. Your species will contribute to galactic civilization whether you understand the honor or not. Amy broke her silence. How many other species have you given this same ultimatum? Zelth smiled without warmth. You are the 48th species to face this choice, Ambassador Brooks. 12 accepted willingly and now thrive under Confederation guidance. 31 required gentle persuasion to see reason. 4 chose stubborn resistance and no longer exist. The mask was completely off now. Peter's recording equipment captured every word as Zelth explained the Confederation's true nature. They were not peaceful explorers seeking friendship. They were conquerors who preferred submission to warfare, but were perfectly willing to use force when necessary. The universe is vast and full of resources, Zelth continued. Primitive species waste those resources through inefficiency and conflict. The Confederation brings order, purpose, and productivity to chaos. Resistance is not just futile, it is morally wrong. Lisa found her voice again. What if we refuse your generous offer? Then you join the 4 species who chose extinction over cooperation, Zelth replied calmly. Our fleet contains 200 ships including several planet-killer vessels. Earth's defenses are primitive by our standards. Conquest would take perhaps 6 months, followed by complete terraforming for more suitable species. The room fell silent except for the soft humming of alien technology. Lisa realized that everything humanity had dreamed about first contact was wrong. The galaxy was not full of peaceful civilizations waiting to welcome newcomers. It was dominated by predators who saw younger species as resources to be harvested. Martin asked the question they all dreaded. How long do we have to decide? 72 hours, Zelth said. You will return to your ship and relay our terms to Earth's leadership. We expect an answer within that time frame. Delay will be interpreted as rejection. Amy leaned forward. And if Earth chooses to fight, Zelth's laugh was like ice breaking. Please do, Colonel. The 4 extinct species all chose to fight. Their home worlds make excellent examples of what happens to those who refuse Confederation membership. We will show you the recordings if you wish. The meeting ended with formal documents being presented to the human delegation. The terms were exactly as brutal as Zelth had described, with no room for negotiation or compromise. Earth could submit or be destroyed. There was no third option. As they walked back to their shuttle under heavy guard, Peter whispered to Lisa. The recordings. We have everything they said. Good. Lisa replied quietly. Earth needs to know what is coming. The shuttle ride back to the horizon felt like a funeral march. Behind them, the massive Valdari fleet was already moving toward human space. Ahead lay the impossible task of convincing Earth's leaders that their first contact had become their death sentence. As they docked with the horizon, Captain Jake Morrison met them at the airlock. One look at their faces told him everything he needed to know about how the negotiations had ended. Set course for Earth, Lisa ordered. Maximum speed. And send a priority message to Fleet Command. Tell them to prepare for war. Captain Ryan Adams was finishing his morning coffee when the emergency signal came through. The UES Defiance was patrolling the outer colonies, checking for pirate activity and ensuring trade routes stayed safe. It was routine work that Ryan had done 100 times before. The transmission from Earth Fleet Command changed everything. Priority Alpha message incoming, announced Lieutenant Commander Kate Williams from the communications station. Command is ordering all ships to receive immediately. Ryan set down his coffee and moved to the captain's chair. Priority Alpha meant potential war or invasion. Nothing good ever came through those channels. Kate put the message on the main screen and Ryan felt his blood turn cold as he read the words. First contact had failed. The alien Confederation was demanding Earth's complete surrender. Their fleet was already moving toward human space with enough firepower to destroy entire planets. All human ships were ordered to return to Earth immediately for defensive operations. How long until we reach Earth? Ryan asked his navigation officer, Lieutenant Bobby. Chen checked his calculations twice before answering. 3 weeks at maximum speed, Captain. The aliens will reach Earth in 4 days. The math was simple and terrifying. Every human ship in space was too far away to help defend their homeworld. Earth would face the alien invasion alone with only its orbital platforms and system patrol craft. It would be a massacre. Commander Sarah Martinez studied the tactical data included with the message. The alien fleet contained over 200 ships, including massive dreadnoughts that dwarfed anything humanity had built. Earth's defenses were designed to stop pirates and small raiders, not a full-scale invasion by an advanced civilization. Captain, Sarah said quietly. We have another problem. According to these sensor readings, part of the alien fleet will pass directly through this system. We are going to encounter them whether we want to or not. Ryan looked at the star charts and realized Sarah was right. The aliens were taking the fastest route to Earth, which meant traveling through the Kepler system where the Defiance was currently stationed. In 36 hours, his single heavy cruiser would face an enemy fleet designed to conquer planets. Chief Engineer Mike Torres joined them on the bridge after hearing the alert. Mike had served with Ryan for 8 years and could read his captain's expression perfectly. "You are thinking about engaging them," Mike said. "That would be suicide, maybe," Ryan replied. "But running away means Earth faces the full enemy fleet. If we can damage even a few of their ships, it might give Earth's defenses a better chance." The crew meeting was called for 1400 hours in the main briefing room. Ryan had served with most of these people for years. They were experienced, professional, and completely unprepared for what he was about to ask them to do. "You all know the situation," Ryan began. "Earth is about to be invaded by a superior enemy force. Every other human ship is too far away to help. We are the only vessel in position to intercept part of their fleet." Lieutenant Commander David Park, the ship's science officer, raised his hand. "Captain, the tactical analysis shows their technology is decades ahead of ours. One of their dreadnoughts could probably destroy our entire ship with a single shot." "You are right, David," Ryan said. "This is not a battle we can win through conventional tactics, but we might be able to hurt them enough to matter." Sarah activated the holographic display showing the enemy fleet composition. The aliens seem to rely on massive ships with heavy armor and powerful weapons. Their ships are built for overwhelming firepower, not maneuverability. "We could use our speed and size advantage." Mike had been running calculations on his datapad. "I can push our reactor beyond safe limits. It would give us maybe 18 hours of enhanced power before the system fails. Enough for one major engagement." Ryan looked around the room at faces he had known for years. These people had families on Earth, dreams of retirement, and every reason to choose survival over sacrifice. What he was asking went against every rule of military engagement. "I am not ordering anyone to stay," Ryan said carefully. "We have 2 shuttles and enough life pods for the entire crew. Anyone who wants to leave can do so with no shame or consequences. This has to be a volunteer mission." Ensign Lisa Rodriguez was the first to speak. At 23, she was the youngest officer aboard and had every reason to choose life over death. "Captain, my little brother is on Earth. If we run away, he dies anyway. At least this way we go down fighting." One by one, the crew voiced their agreement. Engineering specialist Tim Walsh had a wife and daughter on Luna Station. Communications officer Jenny Brooks had parents in the Earth colonies. Weapons specialist Carlos Martinez had a fiancé waiting for him on Mars. All chose to stay and fight. Dr. Emily Stone, the ship's medical officer, was the last to speak. "Medically speaking, this plan will probably kill us all. Personally speaking, I would rather die protecting Earth than live knowing I ran away when humanity needed us most." The vote was unanimous. 800 crew members chose certain death over the possibility of survival. Ryan felt proud and heartbroken at the same time. These people deserved better than dying in empty space far from home. Preparations began immediately. Mike and his engineering team started modifying the reactor for maximum output. Sarah worked with the weapons teams to prepare every missile and energy beam for continuous firing. Kate programmed emergency transmissions to send their battle data back to Earth. The ship's fighters were loaded with extra fuel and ammunition. Pilot Commander Rachel Stone briefed her squadron on kamikaze tactics they had never trained for. The small craft could not survive against alien dreadnoughts, but they might cause enough damage to matter. Ryan sent his final report to Earth Fleet Command. UES Defiance engaging superior enemy force to buy time for home defense. Crew volunteers for this mission. Tell our families we chose to stand. Tell Earth what is coming. As the alien fleet appeared on long-range sensors, Ryan ordered all hands to battle stations. The Defiance was about to face impossible odds, but it would face them with courage. Earth's children were coming home to die defending their world. The enemy ships were enormous, dark against the stars like moving mountains. Their hulls gleamed with alien metal and unknown weapons. Ryan counted 47 vessels in this advance group, each one capable of destroying his ship. "All stations report ready, Captain," Sarah announced. "Then let us show these aliens what humans do when cornered," Ryan said. "All ahead full. Target the lead dreadnought. Today we make our stand." The UES Defiance struck first before the alien fleet could react. Captain Ryan Adams had studied every piece of tactical data from the failed diplomatic mission and found weaknesses in Valdari ship design that other species had been too civilized to exploit. Humans were not civilized when their survival was at stake. The ship's experimental plasma cannons fired at maximum power, punching through the shields of 2 Valdari destroyers before they could return fire. The alien vessels erupted in brilliant explosions that lit up the darkness of space. First blood belonged to humanity. Direct hits on targets 1 and 2, reported Commander Sarah Martinez from the weapons station. Enemy shields were not calibrated for our energy frequencies. The alien fleet reacted with surprise and anger. 45 remaining ships turned toward the small human vessel like sharks sensing blood in the water. Their massive hulls bristled with weapons that could crack planets, but the Defiance was already moving, using its superior speed to stay ahead of their targeting systems. Chief Engineer Mike Torres pushed the ship's reactor far beyond safe limits. The entire vessel shook as power systems strained to provide energy for weapons, shields, and engines simultaneously. Warning lights flashed red throughout the ship, but Mike ignored them. They had 18 hours before the reactor failed, and he intended to use every minute. Reactor at 130% capacity, Mike reported over the intercom. We have maximum power for all systems, but the containment field is showing stress fractures. Ryan guided his ship between two massive Veldari dreadnoughts, using their own size against them. The alien vessels could not fire without risking damage to each other. The Defiance launched a full spread of quantum torpedoes into the gap, catching both ships with weapons designed to penetrate heavy armor. The first dreadnought lost its main engines and began spinning out of control. The second suffered a massive hull breach that vented atmosphere and crew into space. 2 more enemy ships were eliminated, but 43 remained, and they were learning to adapt to human tactics. Lieutenant Commander Kate Williams launched the ship's fighter squadron under Pilot Commander Rachel Stone. 12 small craft streaked toward the alien fleet like angry wasps attacking giants. They could not match the firepower of capital ships, but they could strike at vulnerable points and create confusion. Rachel led her fighters in a coordinated attack on the enemy flagship's communication arrays. The Veldari had never faced opponents desperate enough to use kamikaze tactics. 3 fighters made suicide runs on critical systems, causing massive damage before being destroyed by defensive fire. Flagship is showing communication disruption, reported Lieutenant Commander David Park from his science station. They are having trouble coordinating their fleet movements. The Defiance used this confusion to maximum advantage. Ryan ordered the ship to dive beneath the enemy formation and fire upward into their lightly armored bellies. Sarah coordinated the attack with deadly precision, targeting engine compartments and weapon systems rather than trying to destroy the massive vessels outright. 4 more alien ships suffered crippling damage and fell out of formation. The Veldari fleet was still enormous, but it was no longer the unstoppable force that had terrorized 47 other species. Humans fought differently than anyone the aliens had encountered before. The enemy commander finally adapted to human tactics and ordered his remaining ships to form a defensive sphere. The Defiance could no longer pick off isolated vessels, but was forced to face concentrated firepower from multiple directions. The small human ship could not survive such overwhelming attack for long. Hull breaches on decks 7 through 12, reported Dr. Emily Stone from Medical. Casualty reports coming in from all sections. We have lost 30% of our crew. Ryan felt each death like a physical blow, but he could not afford to grieve. The battle had already lasted 6 hours, and Earth was counting on every minute they could buy. He ordered another attack run despite the ship's growing damage. The Defiance charged directly at the alien flagship with all weapons firing. Plasma cannons, missile launchers, and point defense systems unleashed everything they had in one devastating barrage. The enemy ship's shields flared and collapsed under the sustained assault. Sarah's weapons found their mark as quantum torpedoes penetrated the flagship's armor and exploded inside the hull. Secondary explosions rippled through the massive vessel as ammunition stores and fuel tanks detonated. The Veldari command ship broke apart in a series of brilliant explosions that destroyed 2 nearby escorts. Flagship is gone, Sarah reported with grim satisfaction. Enemy fleet coordination is completely disrupted, but the victory came at a terrible cost. The Defiance had absorbed massive damage during its final attack run. Half the ship was open to space and life support was failing throughout most sections. The reactor was approaching critical failure and weapon systems were barely functional. Mike's voice crackled over the damaged intercom system. Captain, reactor containment is at 15% and falling. We have maybe 30 minutes before total system failure. Ryan looked around his shattered bridge at the crew members who remained alive. They had fought impossible odds for 18 hours and inflicted damage the Veldari would remember for centuries. But their ship was dying and the enemy still had enough vessels to complete their mission. Kate managed to establish one final transmission to Earth using the last of their communication power. This is UES Defiance to Earth Fleet Command. Enemy advance force reduced by 60%. Remaining ships damaged but still operational. We bought you what time we could. The alien survivors were limping toward Earth with barely half their original numbers. Many ships showed severe damage and their formation was scattered. Ryan's sacrifice had turned a certain massacre into a fighting chance for Earth's defenders. As the reactor reached critical failure, Ryan made his final decision. He ordered all remaining crew to abandon ship while he stayed behind to guide the Defiance on one last mission. The ship still had enough power for a single hyperspace jump directly into the enemy formation. "Tell Earth what happened here," Ryan said, as the last escape pod launched. "Tell them we did not surrender. Tell them we did not yield. Tell them this is what humans do when we fight for our homes." The UES Defiance vanished in a flash of light and reappeared in the center of the alien fleet. Ryan triggered the reactor overload manually and smiled as his ship became a miniature star. The explosion consumed 6 more enemy vessels and left the rest so damaged they could barely maintain formation. Word of the battle spread through Valdari space faster than their ships could travel. One human vessel had faced an entire invasion fleet and reduced it to burning wreckage. Species throughout the galaxy heard the story and began to wonder if conquest was always inevitable. The age of Valdari expansion had ended in the fire of human defiance. The age of human vengeance was about to begin.